Hi, I'm Nico, and I will be continuing the discussion on communicating through the web, particularly on the topic of writing for the web, its general principles, and as well as web editing. So let's proceed with the continuation of the general principles of writing for the web, particularly about format and proofreading your work. So, when formatting our work in the web, we must keep in mind to keep it simple. We should not use underline or bold or italics or headings and indentations unnecessarily, and also we must also not use photos and other images unnecessarily. This could make our article difficult to read from the user's point of view. So I'll be sharing some tips in formatting our online article. So the first tip is to use lists instead of paragraphs because lists are easier to scan than paragraphs, especially if we keep them short. So this will be very useful when we are trying to express multiple points in a single article. So an example is I wrote the tips in formatting our web article in a paragraph form, and on the other side is it is in a list form. So you can see which one of the two is easier to read. So the next step is when using lists, we must limit our list items to 7 words because studies have shown that people can only reliably remember 7 to 10 things at a time. So by keeping our list items short, it helps our readers understand them better. So in my examples here, I listed the tips in formatting in using more words, while on the other side I used less words. So again, you can see which version is easier to read and to understand, despite both of them having the same thoughts or the same content. And the next tip is to write short sentences. So, sentences should be as concise as you can make them and use only the words you need to get the essential information across. So, if you might recall, this has also been discussed in the principles for clear and effective writing, particularly principle 7, which says that we must keep our sentences short because longer sentences are often harder to understand, and when possible, we need to break up long, drawn out sentences into shorter ones so that our readers can easily digest them. The next tip is to include internal subheadings. So, subheadings make the text more scannable, and our readers will move to the section of the document that is most useful for them. And internal cues make it easier for them to do this. So, using subheadings, we divide our articles into relevant sections that can also make the transition from one topic to another much smoother. So here is an example of an article that is using subheadings. So you can see that the article opened with a narrative to give us an idea about what the article is, and it continues with subtopics, so all about the money and dummy corporation. So each of the subheading will give us an idea where the topic or where the story is leading to, but at the same time, it all connects to the main point of the article. And we must also note that when using subheadings, we also need to somehow limit our subheadings. I think 3 to 5 subheadings will do because more than uh, more than that, it will also make our article very long and will cause our readers to to scroll very deep into our article. And the last tip in formatting your web article is to make your links part of your copy. So links are another way web readers can scan pages. So they stand out from normal text because normally links are formatted differently, usually with a different color, different font color, or with an underline, and they provide more cues as to what the page is about. So if you include links to other online sites in your article, ensure that they are accurate because uh, nothing ruins a well-written piece than links that generate an error or do not go to the expected site. So going back to the sample article that I used earlier, so this article contains a link. So as you can see, it appears in a different format. It has an orange underline, and when the reader clicks this link, it will open a different or a previous article that talks more about the topic. And the last guideline for writing for the web is to proofread your work. So, typos and spelling errors will send people away from your pages. So, make sure you proofread everything you post to the web. And I will not delve into this further because this has been discussed as well in principle number 14 for clear and effective writing, revise and sharpen. So, you might want to revisit that as well. So let's proceed to web editing. So the first principle for editing online articles is to edit down your word count. So try to cut out as many extra words as possible. This may lower your word count, but it saves the reader time and energy in trying to read a bunch of verbose commentary. Because on the internet, everything works at lightning speed. The average internet reader wants information and they want it fast. If you don't give it to them in a very short amount of time, they click out and try to look for that information elsewhere. So, I have some examples of revised articles here. Shortened sentences. So we can do the same when writing web articles. Next is to follow the style of the site that you are writing for. So some sites follow certain parameters like avoiding the use of first person perspective or having a strict minimum and maximum word counts. Knowing the basics of the site will allow you to get right to your subject and avoid having a piece rejected or returned for an edit. We must also be familiar with the layout of the site. We must learn how the article will appear in the website. Particularly, we should be mindful of paragraphs being cut in the computer screen. So, a series of 3 or 4 sentence paragraphs appears on the screen much differently than long multi-sentence paragraphs. Online articles should be designed for computer screen rather than the printed page. Next is to review your spelling and grammar. So, spelling, grammar, sentence structure, and paragraph length are critical areas that should be reviewed when editing an online article. So, if you could recall, principle number 13 for clear and effective writing, it says review your grammar. So, a conscientious writer knows that accurate and precise writing is a result of accurate and precise usage of a certain language, and that is grammar. So, um, you can revisit our report on Principle 13, but we basically talked about proper use of subject-verb agreement and tenses and other grammar rules. So those grammar rules are applicable in both printed and online articles. So next is to define your abbreviations, especially when using them for the first time in your article. So Dropping an abbreviation into an article confuses the reader as to what that abbreviation is referring to. So going back to the same sample article that I used earlier, so as you can see, um, the the noun Ayala Alabang Village, abbreviated into AAV, was spelled out the first time, and in open close parenthesis AAV is written. So it indicates that the AAV, when used in the succeeding parts of the article, refers to Ayala Alabang Village. So the basics for editing an online article are really not that different than editing a print article. So the differences in an online and in a printed article lie in the medium and the display of a computer screen. But other than that, the spelling, grammar, sentence, and paragraph structure remain as important as ever. We just have to take note that online writing should be concise, readable, and informative. So check your article and make sure that it has the hallmarks of online writing, which are short sentences, multiple paragraphs, lists, and accompanying graphics when appropriate. So as I end my report, so let me share these discussion questions, and I would be looking forward to your responses to these questions in the discussion forum. So, the question would be, differentiate writing for print and for web according to the following aspects. So, formatting and in proofreading and editing. So, how does print and uh, how does writing for print and writing for web differ in terms of number one, formatting, and second, in proofreading and editing? So, thank you so much, and looking forward to your responses to these questions in the discussion forum. Once again, I am Nico, and thank you so much for listening.